Hi teachers, this video is going to walk you through using the gray space, or what we call outside the canvas in Google Slides or drawings, and then how to make those clones or stacks of objects that look similar to what you can do with Active Inspire. So first, talking about the space outside of our canvas. So if I come up and I were to zoom out, you'll notice I have all of this gray space around my canvas. And the same thing in drawing. Depending on the size of your drawing, you may have gray space already showing in your drawing. So this is actually usable space that is unique to that slide or drawing. And you can put objects in this space. So I can add a circle here, I can add whatever I want here. And notice when I click down to the next slide, that circle is not still there. So this is a little bit different than what you might be used to in some of the Microsoft programs, is this space can be used to add items. I have seen it used in great ways for putting instructions out to the side. If you're familiar with Eric Kurtz, he likes to put a lot of his instructions right here, right along the side, so then users can see it there, or putting draggable items around the outside. The other benefit of putting items around the outside of the canvas is that if you intend on printing the activity at any point, those extra items around the outside of the canvas do not print. The other benefit is it gives you a little bit more space to work with. And it's very clear then that once items are dragged onto the canvas, they are part of the answers or what you are looking for. So sometimes it's not appropriate, especially with younger students. If they have the canvas filled to the page, it can be difficult to see that there's objects around the outside of the canvas, and they would need to come up to the zoom and zoom out in order to see that. And unfortunately, there is not a default way to make the zoom set at a certain number for every student that opens this interactive slide deck or drawing. So if you are looking to put images, directions, or things around the outside, my suggestion would be to include a brief direction for students, asking them, I might even use my snipping tool, take a picture, and make sure that I have in my directions. Drag the circles into the box. Cannot see the shapes on the zoom. Or whatever percentage you want. And then I put this little picture here so that they know what to click on. I might even take a picture hovering over the 50% so that that's very clear for students. And then I would go about adding my shapes. To the outside of that canvas. So you would obviously want to have a place on your canvas for students to drag those shapes. So then they would just drag whatever needed here. This is a really bad example because this is on the front of the canvas. So in order to fix that, if I had the layering incorrect, I right click, select order, and then I can use the shortcut to bring to front or send backward. That way the layering is set up correctly for students. So we'll delete these shapes. In drawings, it works similar. The thing I do like about drawings is depending on the size of the canvas, you will have empty space to the side. Now, obviously, this depends very much on what your computer is set up like and how large your screen is. So the wider my screen, the more gray space I will see to the side. The more narrow screen, I will see less. And the same thing if I change my canvas to more of paper size, I'm going to see more gray space, whereas if I enlarge it and maybe I make it more wide, you'll notice that gray space starts to disappear. So think about what is best for your students. I'm going to show you just a few quick examples where people have effectively used that space around the outside of the canvas. So you'll notice in these two slideshows right here, I don't see any of those shapes right away. However, if I were to take and zoom out, I can see all the shapes here, and it actually, because the text is so large, it's not really an issue for me to have to zoom in order to see the text. This is another great example where the user has used the space around the outside, and you can see that they have shrunk the canvas to be more of a square shape, and so that left more space automatically shown, and they've added comments and directions and other things outside. I'm not really sure what any of those say because they're all in French, but this is Chutes and Ladders. And so they've used the outside to put the directions for the game, but then the canvas itself for that interactive game board. Interactive games are another awesome way to get students excited about using slides, have them share and play with each other, and navigate collaboration that way. The other real quick tip that I want to share with you is how to make those stacks of objects so that all of the objects are on top of each other. It looks like an infinite clone stack, but it really isn't infinite. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my shape or image. It doesn't really matter what it is that you want to insert. I'm just going to use a green circle for this. And then I first want to copy and paste a ton of circles. And I want to make sure I do this away from other objects. It just makes it much easier to select things. So if you have a blank slide, you could do it on a blank slide, or you can even do this in that gray space around the canvas. So I'm going to click on the object. I'm going to do Control-C for cat or copy once. And then I am going to do Control-V for victory a whole bunch of times to paste a whole bunch of copies. So I just am holding down the control button and I keep tapping the V. And notice I keep making more. When you do stacks of objects like this, you always want to make more than students would need, just in case if they accidentally drag one or two or something happens. And then I'm going to use my arrow and I'm going to draw a box around all of the shapes. And I will notice, if you look in real closely, you'll notice that every shape has a little blue selecting note on it. And then I would right click on this selection, select align horizontally, and it doesn't really matter which one you select. I tend to select left. So you'll notice now they all align with the leftmost object. And then I'm going to right click again, select align vertically, top, and now it looks like one circle, but notice when I click and drag, it ends up looking like it's actually cloning the items, when in fact you're really just dragging circles off top of circles. So we're going to select all these again. Uh-oh, I got something accidentally selected that I didn't want to. So I'm going to hold down Control and unselect that text box. Now I'm going to right click, align left, right click, align top, and we're back to a stack. If you need to move this whole stack of circles, you don't want to just click on the top one. You actually want to drag over top of this, and that will in effect click on every one that's underneath this. And then I can drag the whole stack at once. So again, don't click on the top one and try to drag, because you're only going to drag one circle. If you drag over top of that whole thing and then drag that stack, you'll be able to move it. So hopefully you find these two tips and tricks pretty easy to do. They're awesome tools for making those interactive slides and drawings.